everybody, and welcome to the NJCU broadcast for the NECC Rocket League playoffs. My name is Bass from the past, and alongside me, a new face here for the New Jersey City University team. This is Hypheria, and Hypheria, welcome, my friend. You're going to join us alongside what has been a dominant season here for the Gothic Knights. They look fantastic, and they've even looked fantastic in playoffs, taking a 3-0 victory last week to move into the semifinals. I'm excited to get into this one. How are you doing on this fine Tuesday, my friend?
I'm doing absolutely lovely. Technically already Wednesday for me, so that's also cool. It's 1 AM right now, and I could not be more excited to be casting the Gothic Knights here.
I'm very excited to get into this one today, and we've got a really interesting one here today. Not necessarily because the Gothic Knights have made it into the semifinals as one of the highest seeds in their division. They were kind of expected to make it this far. I would say almost 100% expected to make it this far. The more surprising part of this one is that they're facing Army West Point, and Army West Point are a very good team. They're the number 6 seed. But they're not the number 3 seed, CCE Blue, who, when we spoke to the team last week in an interview, were expected to make it here today. They had taken down CCE Green in their last matchup, and were expecting the tougher of the two squads to find them in the semifinals. All of a sudden, there's an upset Game 5. Army West Point make it here, and now we've got a completely different ball game on our hands. It's still a best of 5 no matter what, but Hypheria, this could be an interesting one. Or muted in general? Hypheria might be having a little bit of technical issues here as his mic has cut out for the moment. Hopefully we can try and figure that out here. Not sure what's going on. We were hearing him just a minute ago, so hopefully we can figure that out before we hop into this first game. But let's give him a little bit of time. In the meantime, I'll talk to you lovely folks at home and talk to you a little bit more about the NJCU Gothic Knights here. If you guys are not familiar with our entire squad at this point, well, you might want to start getting familiar with these guys sometime soon. All 3 players have been incredibly strong here, and if we can pull up this quick graphic on screen, we can show you the stats for all 3 of these players. So see if we can get this moved over real quick, and here it is. We've got Jake, Wilson, and Charisma, all 3 players incredibly strong, and as you can see, almost every single player at this point starting to average over a goal per game. Jake specifically is averaging 1.5, but at a total of 29 goals for Wilson, he's been incredibly influential there, and Charisma with 32 shots throughout the season and over 3 on average a game. All 3 players are getting involved in this offense and doing a great job at that. Wilson, though, as you can also see, our defensive master, a save and a half basically per game. Incredible stuff. And Hypheria, hopefully we've got you back, and hopefully we can get a little bit of your reaction to some of the stats we are seeing on screen.
Mental. That's all I can really say. It's the stats are insane, and at that point, you know, they can be so dominating in the game. If you get a lot of shots, or if you get a lot of goals, that just means you're feeling good. You're moving across the pitch with elegance and converting a lot of your opportunities as well. Charisma, shot percentage 32.5%, and stretch that over all the goals. That's very impressive. In one game, sure, but to get that consistently, that's insane.
Sounds like we're back with the audio at this point here, hoping that we were back on the audio here at this point. Not really sure what's going on, considering that for about 3 minutes into stream, your audio was through. 3 minutes afterwards, it seems like it's gotten a little bit buggy, but Hypheria, I think I got you back on the line, my friend.
It grabbed, it decided to randomly switch to the camera of my webcam. So or to the microphone of my webcam. I have no clue. Whoa. It's mental out here. Stats are insane, everything insane, but I guess we're all back and I hope to normal.
This has been insanity. I think at this point, we're starting to get a little bit of semblance of normalcy at this point. But here's the good thing, is that no matter what, normalcy will be achieved when we hit the pitch. I am ready for this one still, getting everything set on up here for this best of 5. And like we said, it is only a best of 5 here in the playoffs. Once we get to the grand final, if we can get there, it is going to be a best of 7. But for right now, as we move through the semifinals, it is still going to be a best of 5. Fury, I see you're still trying to go through your audio stuff. I could hear you for a second, so I think we are all good, but I just want to make sure before we hop into this one. What? Oh, well, it sounds like, well, Fury has been able to adjust it and make it so that it works on Discord. I think our VMix is starting to work out. Production... Alright, I think he's back. He's back.
It's all over the place right now, and I'm afraid of what it's about to do next. I can't control this anymore. It's got sentient.
Folks, I promise you, this is not the usual for Hyperia here. We actually just did 2 hours of broadcasting before this, so to see it all of a sudden mess up like this here now, bit surprising. Good thing is that I don't think our team's gonna mess up like this. They have been consistent. They have been strong this entire way through. And the Gothic Knights, I don't expect them to falter here against Army West Point. But Hyperia, another good thing that you and I have actually had the ability to watch here is that we just got out of casting for the NECC. And one of the matches we actually casted was Misericordia Cougars versus JWoo Yellow. The teams on the other side of this Emergence Yellow bracket. Misericordia took the victory there, but they went to Game 5 1-goal games in a row, and 4 overtimes at that. So it's starting to show. We get into semifinals, and all the teams here in the Emergence Yellow starting to come very close in skill level.
It's going to be incredible, and especially you come up against a number 6, you can't get complacent. You can't head into this and think, oh, we should have this relatively easy. This should be simple, right? This is going to be tough. They didn't upset because, well, the other team stubbed their toe. They got there by just demolishing and being better than their opponents, or at least in that particular series. So you really need to and be able to move quickly.
Yeah, you really do need to be able to adjust here. We've seen this, especially in these series that go the distance. If you are not prepared for those little adaptations throughout a series, you're going to get caught by surprise. So, hopefully, we cannot have that happen here today. Again, we've got a very strong squad. All 3 of these players very prepared here in Jake Wilson and Charisma, but the question is whether or not their opponents are going to be prepared here, because it does kind of seem like Army West Point caught their opponents off guard last week. It wasn't necessarily one of these things where, you know, they were expected to go through easily, but you can see from the scoreline, it was very volatile. Not a single 1-goal game up until the very last one. So let's see if we can have a little bit of a change up here. Best of 5 underway between NJCU and Army West Point. NJCU in the blue, Army West Point in the orange. Best of 5 underway. Game number 1. Let's see what these 2 teams have got.
One best of 5 stands between NJCU and a grand final here. They can move through in whatever scoreline as long as they win. And we'll be in that grand final. Jake already trying to pass it off to the center. 30 seconds in, and this is a good start for NJCU. Is that going to sail on in? Crossbar down and out. It's unfortunate, but at least you know you're threatening.
Oh my, they are very threatening very quickly into this one. Already starting to lock this Army West Point team into their own half, and it's not a good miss from Coco. It's going to give a lot of extra room now for NJCU to move into offense here. Jay can hold this one out at midfield here, and JJ just can only deflect this out to the side. But out on the side is Jake waiting to center that back to Charisma. And already Gothic Knights out the gate putting on the pressure.
Wilson now off to the back where Santos going to be waiting there. Clears the way. Charisma tries to set up another aerial play, and that's going to be tough. And his teammate needs to back up for some boost. Wilson has a connector back in the rotation. JJ is able to sneak that one through. Wilson all the way back into his own corner. Still able to take control of that boost battle. Unfortunately lost. And it might not matter, Charisma. It's a touch, and I think that's all that matters in that position.
Good touches are going to be absolutely crucial here, making sure to just keep the pressure on and making sure to stay in the face of their opponents here. And NJCU doing a good job at that right now, not giving a lot of room to Army West Point to breathe here. That's a little bit of room, though. JJ going to pop this one up. Is anyone there for the follow-up? No, Charisma plays this slowly, but it's actually going to force a double commit here. Coco, open net, but it's not going to happen. Wilson rushes back to make the save, and NJCU will hold on for now.
Hold on for now, they do, but they're putting in a stand here at Army West Point. They make sure that you can't just move through easily, or you can. Jake gets a free pass and even some help along the way.
It's a beautiful first touch and an even better controlled air dribble to take this one past the defense there. Slams it home, and with about 2 minutes, 10 seconds gone, NJCU will find the first lead of this series.
NJCU, they have been the more attacking side. They have been putting on the majority of the pressure, but well, that doesn't matter if you end up conceding every single counter-attack going your way, but they've been able to keep it nice and tidy at the back end. No gaps, no cracks, just straight up defense, while also sustaining pressure down the other end.
Pressure on the other end here, but unfortunately pressure on the other end for NJCU at this point. Army West Point starting to move into their opponent's half and put it on, but only momentary here. They only stay in our half for a couple of seconds, and all of a sudden, Wilson gets a chance to rip a shot on target. That one will not hit the back of the net, but what about the follow-up from Charisma there? 50-50 gone awry, but Jake is very prepared on the back end. And again, it feels like we've been in control right now. The Gothic Knights just dictating the pace of play, not really allowing Army West Point to find any comfort here in game number one.
Wilson is going to try and continue that discomfort. It makes it awkward for Santa, but he manages to deal with it right now. And coming in that time of the year where he's going to be at his absolute strongest. Luckily, we meet them before that actually happens. Wilson, big clear around the side. Coco chased it down, is able to catch it.
All right, so I know that you, that you're not technically, well, not even technically, you are not American, so Thanksgiving isn't necessarily a holiday that you celebrate, to put it simply here, but the reality is that as soon as Thanksgiving is over, it is Christmas time, or at least according to most Americans, to be honest, and so technically Santa is at his strongest, so it goes to show how even more impressive this first game is. The fact that we're taking down Santa, not allowing him to show that Holy Spirit has made it impressive so far. The question is whether or not we're going to be able to hold on here, because Coco's trying to get an offense together, and who else but Santa to finish it off? Feels like this was kind of inevitable.
The way I see Thanksgiving is just my timeline getting spammed by Americans. That's all I've got to do with Thanksgiving, and I know it's supposed to be a cheerful holiday. I see it different purely because I don't see anything else on my timeline. It's like, oh, Americans have something again. Here we go.
You know what? Here's the good thing. We're going to be able to bring you out one day. We're going to show you the American tradition of Thanksgiving. For right now, let's show you the American tradition of NJCU taking the win here. They're attempting to do so in game number one, and might just do so with 42 seconds left on the clock.
The bump on the teammate as well, just to disrespect even more, just to have the charisma and say, look, we mess up, but it don't matter, homie. You at best worry about the third man committing in this scenario. Went through. Charisma up in their face yet again. Wilson pass off to the center. Nobody there, and all they have to do is hold out.
All they have to do is hold on for another half a minute. They're trying to give themselves a little bit of a buffer room there. Shot on target will not find the back of the net as it rings off the bar. Oh, but speaking of ringing off, Coco trying to ring one into the back of our net, but is denied by the defense. And I gotta give credit where it's due. NJCU, for a team that's so offensively based, like we were talking about in the pre-show, they're showing a lot of defensive prowess here, and maybe they can show at least one more chance of offense, though. Wilson takes us out to the side, and at this point, he's not even looking for a goal. He's just looking to keep the inevitable happening here. Let the ball hit the ground, and we will take game number one, and we might even get a goal extra to show for it. No such luck, but the results are the same. NJCU take game number one in this best of five.
All right, love. That they don't care that it's 0 seconds, that they're only up by one. They keep the ball up because that's tradition, and tradition, we talked about it. It shouldn't be changed. And they keep the ball up. We're almost able to create another goal-scoring opportunity, but it does not matter. NJCU, from the get-go of that game, they were all over their opponents and trying to sustain that pressure the entire time. It made it tough.
They made it extremely tough, and that was a tough-fought battle the entire way through. Only a single goal separating the two teams, but we do kind of have to point out the one goal that Army West Point did find was a little bit undue to the fact that we had some defensive mishaps there. So if we can tighten up that back line, not allow some easy pressure from Army West Point, I don't see them finding nearly as much success moving into offense here, but that's not necessarily up to us. That is up to the Gothic Knights here, who have been showing some incredible prowess so far. So chat, we're going to need you guys to try and keep that alive, keep that support going here as we move into game number 2 of this best of 5. And like we mentioned before, this is a big game for for NJCU, because they did not expect to be facing Army West Point here today. They were expecting the number 3 seed in CCE to face up against them and to have to battle to get into the grand finals. So if they can take a surprise victory against the surprise team, it'll give them so much momentum going into that grand final.
Here we go. That's not a great start. It's a lot of chaos in front of the net, but they managed to deal with it for now. Absolutely no worries, of course, as is the standard. Jake, that's a good first touch. Another boost to find the second. Santa was in the way. Either way, Charisma, it's a miss. That might make it awkward, but JJ misses the shot.
This is the shot, but they're still going to keep some pressure going here. Army West Point move into our half very quickly in this game, but we move into their half even quicker. NJCU with the 1-2-1 passing play, and they'll find the lead.
Ping pong right back through the midfield, back in our court along the side, and NJCU, they take yet again that first goal. So important for that momentum to continue where you left off in winning ways. Wilson look for the pass off center. That's a phenomenal one. Charisma a tad too far out, and fair enough, but Jake is there for the ringer right across the map, right side of the net, and only slightly not being in.
I cannot believe that shot. It was incredibly powerful, but the save was even more impressive. NJCU, though, they're not going to back down here. They might have gotten denied on that goal, but they're not going to stop fighting for another one here. A minute into this, they are right back to offense again, and Charisma not going to rip a shot on target. I think they were trying to fake that one out and intentionally leave that one for Jake, but not quite communicated effectively enough, and an opportunity is going to go awry. Minute 20 into this one, and finally, AWP are going to find themselves a little bit of an offense here, but can they find an equalizer? Santa trying to go for one right here, and once again, Santa, the first player to score for Army West Point.
There they go. They can score, of course. Santa dropping that down, and then JCU yet again at a tight game. 3 minutes 33 seconds. It's a beautiful timing. It won't change the fact that this is completely tied. A lot of time. It's a complicated 0-0 scoreline, basically. For Charisma, he tries to change that. Wilson off the crossbar yet again. Tribute to Charisma, that is, but he actually scores.
And there we go. NJCU find themselves their second goal. They have a tied ball game, but only for about a fraction of a second here. And all of a sudden, we are right back to a lead for NJCU. Gothic Knights looking incredibly strong right now, but this is not enough to guarantee them game number 2. Considering how volatile and how back and forth this has been, Army West Point only need one good offense, and they are right back into this thing.
Wilson off to the center. Goes for the second tap. JJ got a 50, but you see Jake and Charisma both posing up defensively. They've got defensive stances engaged. Charisma tries to put on an attack and one gets shut down rather quickly. And has to go back, drop back all the way to that defensive position. Charisma now to the backboard. He can't triple commit here. Jake misses the shot, but that's fine because they're still in the lead and they just need to be wary of those counterattacks.
I just have to be very careful here. Like we said, there's only one single play separating these two teams right now, and if AWP can find that, it'd be something special, but Army West Point struggling to find a solid shot on target. First one's off target, second one denied by the defense, but what about the third that's going to arrive right now? Actually, not even going to arrive. JJ actually turns it into a pass instead! Beautiful play from Army West Point. Credit where it's due. That was perfectly executed.
Wilson just getting baited in a tad there, enough for the ball to go around him. Absolutely chanceless. If they did it 4 seconds later, it would have been 2-2-2-2-2-2. It doesn't matter. NJCU They'll just go on into the attack yet again. Wilson, can he get this boost still? That puts JJ in a terrible position as to let Santa do all the work, and he does do so.
Ooh, but all of a sudden, now a chance to go the other way here. Army West Point getting a decent amount of pressure, and NJCU starting to really feel it. Great clear from Jake, though. That should give a chance now for Charisma to go the other way. That's an even better 50-50. NJCU struggling to break out, though. They're going as aggressively as they can into their opponent's half, but just cannot find a couple of passes to string together here. Feels a little bit frazzled. They're going to need to switch this one up, Hypheria, because if they keep going with the same sort of attacking plan, it seems like Army West Point have an answer.
NJCU going to the counter. That's a miss, and that's an open net afterwards. One man, one mistake, and it's enough.
I just don't think that anybody was expecting this to go on target, so when Santa misses that one, his teammates are just not prepared for the follow-up. You can see someone did try to commit from the corner there. I have a feeling Army West Point communicated in air that that was not getting touched and tried to recover, but a little bit too late, and it might just be too late into this game as well. Just underneath 100 seconds, and a 2-goal lead indeed for NJCU might just secure them the game.
Well, great stuff. Pass in field to Charisma. Phenomenal. And Santa yet again. And the worst end of that ball, not between the goal of the ball, but between, oh, I mean, technically still, but the blue goal. That's not where you want to be in NJCU. They're in the exact position where they want to be. 2-goal lead with about 90 seconds to play. Surely spells victory. But you know, you never know whether they're dyslexic.
You gotta wonder whether or not they can see the victory writings on the wall here. And, well, at this point, even if they can't read it, they might as well be able to understand the picture that is being painted. And that's a pretty clear one. 5-2 with 70 seconds remaining. NJCU looking likely to take game number 2.
Very likely indeed. Army West Point, they've got some work to do to try and break out of that defensive end. They just suffocate under the pressure. Oh my word, directly off of kickoff. That's incredibly close. Wilson goes off the backboard in such control through the air. Efficient boost usage into the attack. Jake should be able to score, and of course, he does.
And there we go, a 6th goal now for NJCU as they continue to dominate here in game number 2. It felt like for a second we were struggling to find our flow, to find that rhythm that we had been speaking about, Hypheria, but now that we have found it again, we look nearly unstoppable. A minute left here in game number 2, and if we can take all of this momentum into game number 3, I'd say we have a pretty good chance at sweeping this series.
We're at least for that. And they just keep on furthering it and establishing their dominance. 7-2, exactly proving my point. No, there's no enough is enough. That doesn't exist here. It's just keep on powering through.
Listen, I appreciate this. I'm a proponent of one of these things, so if once you've got that momentum in your favor, use it to your advantage as much as you can. We've seen this many times, actually, Hypheria, in multiple different instances at every single level of Rocket League. You see this happen where a team gets momentum in a favor, and then they let off the gas a little bit, and all of a sudden that momentum they had been building for so long just completely dissipates. This time, I don't think it's going to happen because Army West Point now have only their 3rd goal of this game. They still need another 4 in 30 seconds to bring it back, but I also still don't want to necessarily let us loosen our grip as we move into game number 3 here. A dominant victory in game 2 is massive, and go for the road would be pretty good for us as well.
Go for the road is something. Army West Point, they just need something back in terms of momentum, but NJCU, of course, are going to be trying to shut that down to the heaviest of their ability. I'm not missing the boost in the corner there, Jake. You usually want to grab that or leave it for a teammate. Let's leave it at that. He left it for a teammate. Charisma now going down the line. Everybody knows that this is completely futile, and this is just a formality.
And it's just a formality at this point. Keeping the ball up because, like we were talking about before, you know, this is tradition in Rocket League to keep the ball up at this point, and well, tradition aside, I don't necessarily think there's anything traditional about a 7-3 scoreline here. Not something you see every day in Rocket League, only here at NJCU with the Gothic Knights absolutely dominating their opponents. Are you going to see that type of scoreline? And, well, that's the story of the day so far here. A 2-1 victory in Game 1 left us a little bit frazzled, wondering if we'd have a tight series, but then all of a sudden, 7-3 in the next one. I think the NJCU Gothic Knights are here to play, High Faria.
I don't think this can be considered playing. Like, if we're realistic, if I show up to a football game where it's like 8 years old, I'm gonna dominate. I don't think the parents along the side would be calling, oh, that dude is playing well. No, that dude is dominating. Get him off the field. But right now, you're in no such scenario. You're gonna have to face down the absolute titans that are NJCU right here.
Yeah, I think the reality is at this point, Army West Point know what they are up against, and they need to pull out all the stops if they want a shot at this one. There's no guarantee we move through in 3. There's no guarantee we move through in 4 or 5 either, but it's looking likely if we can play to this degree. It's really up to Army West Point at this point. If NJCU can even play a fraction of as well as they did in that last one, they're most likely taking this. But if Army West Point can step up and change this one up, I've got faith in them, but like we said, no guarantees at this point. No guarantees whatsoever. So it's up to NJCU to keep the momentum in their favor and close this one out in 3.
Looks like a decent start for Army West Point. Well, and Coco, that shot's not going to do any justice. Jake to the skies. That's a lot of boost use. And then to go for a flip reset. No follow-up. That's unfortunate. Coco still to the backboard. Wilson, nicely defended. Let's Charisma take the follow-up. Santa, it's a bit awkward. Has to give away possession to Wilson here and pops that wide. Coco dives underneath. Jake goes over the top. Nice little cross play. Not really going to bring them any opportunities, though.
No opportunities so far here. 30 seconds into this one, and it's really just been a back and forth so far. I don't really think that Army West Point have found a lot of better momentum here at this point. They do look a little bit more controlled, but it feels like they still need to find that punch when it comes to their offense. We've seen them move into the offensive third many times throughout this series, but their consistency in that space has been a little bit lackluster, to put it simply. Once again, still a little bit lackluster. Not able to find a shot here within the first minute, and now a chance for NJCU to go the other way. What a 50-50 from Jake. It's going to set up Charisma, and that'll hit the back of the net. 1-0 in favor of the Gothic Knights.
What a dunk. That is ridiculous. And the Charisma, just the patience to just wait for the JJ miss. It's such a hard read for JJ in that position. And then it's a good read to just wait for that miss to be happening. If he gets the clear, sure, he was beating you anyway. And then you have the follow-up play. Smartly played. Santa diving underneath. Wilson still staying close. Charisma also getting up in the mix. They have to back down, though.
I still have to try and keep this pressure up, though. They'll back down for only a second, but Wilson will pop this into the backboard where Jake is waiting. He wants a double touch off the backboard. Cannot find it for himself, but will at least keep the offense alive. A chance for Wilson to slam it home, but instead it is Charisma. NJCU putting on the pressure and find a second goal.
Yet again, the patience out Charisma here to just drive underneath, see what happens. If they miss, you're there. If they don't, you've got a third man back. That's the power of 3v3. You can't have that person, that player up in the mix, but kickoff goals, those are not a frequency in 3v3, but they do still happen.
That's a kickoff goal for Army West Point at this point. It's not the end of the world, and, well, we have to remember that going into the next 3 minutes of this game. Mentality is a huge thing in Rocket League, and at this point, it seems like NJCU have been running with that confidence and that utmost mentality the entire time. But you never know. That can shake up in a moment, excuse me, at this point. Trying to remember how to say that as I'm getting flustered because, I fear, here's the thing. We might have given up a goal, but we still just look so dominant on offense.
They can just shake it off like no other. One goal against, no, that's fine. We'll move on. We know we can be dominating. That's such a mindset that is insanely good to have if you try and go further to try and take this pro or even a semi-pro, whatever. You need that mindset, and that will bring you, that alone will bring you so incredibly far. But NJCU, let's just close this one out first. 1 goal lead with 2.5 minutes remaining. Maybe 1 goal lead, a 0 lead. Completely combo Wilson and defends the castle.
Like we said earlier, we were talking about how incredibly strong our offense was, but oh no, I was going to say our defense is just as strong, but well, this is a little bit unfortunate. The pressure was continuing to build, and eventually they found a crack, and Army West Point will tie this one up with just about half the game remaining, but I fear we knew this was going to happen. At some point, this was going to turn into a battle.
Are there even castles in America?
Yeah, maybe. Sure, I'll say yeah.
Because, like, I don't know, it's just something I was wondering. Defend the castle? Is there even a castle? I don't know. I'm not going to bash on NJCU, of course, but maybe there's an inconsistency in the story.
Well, here's the best way to solve that at this point. There is a castle. It's the NJCU University. Oh, my word, main campus here. They've got the cannons to back it up. They got a battalion on their side. Beautiful pass from Jake and Charisma. These shots have been electric.
That is ridiculous. An absolute ringer through the center, and NJCU yet again take the lead. This is where they just need to further it continuously. Instead of having Army West Point get back into this, giving them that momentum, because this first game is always the hardest to try and prevent a sweep from happening. You want to shut it out directly. Army West Point, they've still got life in them, and they're showing it.
I just also realized, talking about the castles, talking about cannons and all of this, this is a battle of time as well. It's the old military versus the new military. The knights, as they used to be in the military, versus the modern army and the modern military here. So, old versus new, who you got your bets on? At this point, I'm probably betting on the elders here, as all of a sudden they've got a 3-2 lead with about 80 seconds remaining, but they need to hold on here very, very quickly. Army West Point are creeping up on them, trying to find an equalizer and trying to find an overtime for the first time in this series. That's easier said than done. NJCU, a lot of offensive pressure and even some shots on target.
Interesting fact, Knights back in the day sometimes didn't actually battle. If the majority didn't agree or didn't feel like battling, they decided to close it out with a game of football. Yeah, true fact. And that football would then be from a pig's stomach or whatever, but going down into the nitty-gritty of things, and then the Middle Ages get a terrible, terrible reputation. Let's just bring this back to relevant times as 30 seconds remain. Still 1-goal lead.
That's fitting that, the two militaries are now battling out in their own version of football at this point. It's modern football played with cars and boosts and controllers and all of that. And, well, it's also football that could be battled out in an overtime here as Army West Point are starting to get some offense together. Charisma, great save, but what about the follow-up? It's off target, and now less than 10 seconds left. A chance for NJCU to close out this series and move on to the grand finals. All they have to do is not allow a shot, and they will not. NJCU, the New Jersey City University Gothic Knights, will move on to the NECC Grand Finals.
Just like that, in the snip of a finger, it's a sweep. It's simple, but it's sweet.
Oof. Love it. Just love it. There's nothing else we can really say at this point. It's absolutely lovely to see NJCU take an overwhelming victory. And I gotta say, in comparison to what we saw on the other side of the bracket, this is going to shoot some waves around the league at this point here. Best of 5 with 5 one-goal games in a row on the other half, and then an absolutely dominant 3-0 victory on this side of the bracket. So, I fear you to say we put out a statement here today would be an understatement in itself.
They're flexing. Even though in their massive armor, it's tough. It's not quite as bendy, but they're flexing still, and it is visible to everybody walking along the halls. You can see the muscle on them, the pure calmness as well. Because let's face it, they were great on the pitch, but also their mental game. After they conceded a goal, right back to the grind, right back to it. They started dominating yet again. They knew what they had to do, and as soon as it kind of fell off, they brought it back.
Oh, they absolutely did exactly that. The recovery from the team, it looked close for a second, but they made sure it was not close at the end. They're showing their dominance and showing how NJCU will move into the grand finals here. They've got quite the test in them in the #1 seed in Misericordia, but I'm ready for it, my friend. I'm very ready for this one to see what this team has got. But before we say goodbye and get ready for that next week, we're going to take a quick little break and bring in one of the players as well. I'm going to try and get a quick little... Oh, wait. Never mind. I take it back. I was going to say...
No
interview this week. I am sad. I was hoping we get an interview. I'm not going to interview you.
Well, no. Ask me a question.
No. All right, so thank you very much, everybody who tuned in here this week for this incredible back and forth between NJCU and Army West Point. I have been joined by the lovely Hyperia. We have some fun in the booth. We make fun of each other, but at the end of the day, he has been able to carry me through yet another cast, and we absolutely appreciate it. No L's here, my friend. Only doves for NJCU. That's the only way that this one works. And, well... it worked out lovely. Hi, before we go on out, because I did just roast you on cast, where can everybody go and find you, my friend?
was all alone. Then you showed up under my umbrella. Oh, shelter from the